Sources of obligations. So Article 1157 enumerated the sources of obligations, which are number 1, law. Second, contracts. Third, quasi-contracts. Fourth, act or omissions punished by law. And lastly, quasi-delicts. Sources of obligations. So, saan ba nanggagaling ang obligation? So, number 1 sa law. When they are imposed by law itself. So, kapag nakasaad sa batas, yun. Isa na yun sa mga sources ng obligation. So, example, obligation to pay taxes. So, required sa batas na magbayad ng buwis. Pwede ring obligation to support one's family. Second, contracts. So, when they arise from the stipulation of the parties. Number 3, quasi-contracts. So, they arise from lawful, voluntary, and unilateral acts, enforceable to the end that no one shall be justly enriched or benefited at the expense of another. So, ano bang ibig sabihin nitong quasi? Quasi, ibig sabihin parang contract. So, parang contract na rin. So, example nga nito, obligation to return money paid by mistakes or which is not due. For example, ikaw, bumili ka sa tindahan. Sobra ang sukle ng ali. Ngayon, kailangan syempre, isauli mo yung sobrang sinukli sa'yo. Kung hindi, edi na-enrich ka at the expense of another. Yun. Another sources of obligations, we have number 4, crimes or acts or omissions punished by law. So they arise from civil liability, which is the consequence of criminal offense. So for example, the obligation of a thief to return the bike stolen by him. So kapag gumawa ka ng krimen, meron ka na agad civil liability. So kailangan isauli mo yung ninakaw mo. Lastly, we have quasi-delicts or torts. So when they arise from damage caused to another through an act or omission, there being fault or negligence, but no contractual relation exists between the parties. So for example, the obligation of the possessor of an animal to pay for damage which it may have caused. So for example, meron kang alagang pet, aso, and then nakakagat yung aso mo. So in this case, kailangan you have to pay for the damage. Ipapagamot mo or kung ano man ang kailangan gawin dun sa nakagat ng aso mo. Note lang natin, there is no obligation if its source is not any of those enumerated in Article 1157. So pag wala dito, sa mga sources of obligations, walang obligation.